When I went to the University of Virginia, I went on the GI Bill, which of course made it so much better than starving to death and trying to do it otherwise. Um, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was wonderful. Not always, but almost always. Um, it didn't take me long to settle down into my courses and studying hard and so forth, because a lot of the things I was studying was exactly what I've been doing in the Army when I had to prepare. I went to the ordnance school, which is like going to a college. So a lot of the things that there the first year were just already knew them. I had done them, studied them, and so forth, which gave me some extra time, which was nice. And Walter Cole, one of the professors there, the top-notch professor, very good, said, "Would you like to have a job?" I didn't have any real reason because it was a GI Bill. I said, "Yeah, I wouldn't mind having a good job." And so he put me in charge of the Right Air Development Command laboratory there. This is true. And so one of the things we had to do, I had to do because I had 4 people work for me. And here this is, I'm still a student, first year student. But we had a lot of new things coming along, new ways to run things. This was the Air Force.
I actually did a Wright-Patterson contract
Okay,
early
so
in my
you
career.
know what I'm
Yes.
talking about. And we had a pretty well-equipped laboratory. And of course, the nice thing was about it, I didn't have to go in during my hours of my classes. I'd go to class. But then there'd be enough time in the afternoon because I didn't really have to study to use that to make a good showing in the laboratory.
Well, that made your life at UVA a bit more comfortable because
Oh
you had some
boy, did
extra
it ever.
income.
It sure did.
Yeah.
And I had a real good friend who was lived down the hall from me and so forth, and we'd go out and drink beer together, and it was just nice. I also joined one of the fraternities very soon. Wasn't long I joined one of the fraternities because it seemed like they were having a lot of fun, and also because they were doing some caving. Well, it wasn't long. You might well imagine that I was appointed president of the fraternity. And so I had the responsibility for bringing in the new guy. This is that same year, that same first year, because I'd started in the summer. And
I wonder if you're being a little older helped.
of course.
Yeah,
and it was natural for them to elect me the president for that year. And then when I got married, somewhat later, to say the least, about a year later, my wife could go with me to the meetings, to the parties, to the beer fest and all those things. So she loved to sit up there at the counter with all of these men around her.
Yeah, I bet.
And she was the center of attention. And she had a really important job.
Yeah, those were fun days.
She was a pretty girl, I'll tell you. It still is. So anyway, that was things. And of course the caving, it was just like a big, couldn't have a nicer time. And now when I got my second year, and I studied in the summer too, but by the time I got into my second year, we were getting into tougher stuff. I still had the charge of the laboratory, but I didn't work in it quite so much because I was getting in some hellaciously tough courses and so forth. And well, I did all right on them. And the only time I ever caught
help. What was your major then? Was it chemistry?
Chemistry.
Okay.
And the only time I ever had real problems was he came in to me and I was doing something not safely, and he said, "You're gonna blow the building up if you keep it up." That's all he had to say. And I said, yeah, I realize I shouldn't have been doing this. But other than that, I never had any cross firing with him. He's the one who, Dr. Cole was the one that recommended me for a fellowship and so forth. And of course, when I left,
At UVA or to Brown?
well, I used wherever I wanted to. I could have stayed at the University of Virginia. Sometimes I think I should, but it could be used anywhere. That they would,
Okay. That's great. Oh, and who funded the fellowship?
the United States government.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it was.
This is not the Atlas Award.
This is what
This is not the Atlas Award. I think you had another
I
award.
had. An Atlas Award also. That was a smaller one.
Oh, okay.
So I had 3 things good from it.
You're like Gretchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had a boatload of stuff
I
too.
never had any shortage of money.
Yeah, that's great.
Of course, once I got married, I had to rent an apartment. Then it began to be a
Yeah,
little
your
tighter.
expenses pile up. Yeah.
But that was fun. I had a very good time there.
So how long were you at the University of
3
Virginia?
years.
3 years.
I
Okay, like
graduated.
me, I graduated early.
And I had fun before I got married. I had fun after I got married. And one of my buddies had a big car. I've forgotten what kind it was, but it was a huge, open. It's the kind of car you would drive down the street with in a parade with the president riding in it, you know. And that was his car. And so
Weren't you on the Rotunda lawn for a little bit?
I never got onto the lawn.
Okay.
Never got the lawn. But
You
I did have a private room for most of the time. But anyway, I do remember that. What was I getting ready to say?
The guy with the big car.
Oh yeah, and we were real good friends. In fact, for one of the big bashes at the thing with Benny Goodman came there, and your mother was with me. I was wearing his sports coat because I didn't have one that looked nice. So you know we were that, and he went caving with me sometimes. But I made one big mistake. He let me drive that big car, and we were passing a group of girls. No, they didn't have girls at the University of Virginia, but there were still girls in that
town. Yeah.
And I blew the horn at him. Oh, he was furious. He just wasn't that kind of person. He said. I said, well, why not? I said, he can't hurt anything. He said, no, I don't want to do that. So I got to live with these people.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh, anyway, so I made a quasi-enemy at that time, but it didn't last.
It's a breach of etiquette.
Oh, a breach of etiquette.
Terrible
That's
breach of etiquette.
So I had a lot of dumb things I did like that.
Is Virginia where you had a roommate, that Chinese roommate?
Oh yeah, the first semester I had a Chinese roommate. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
In fact,
that egg.
Yeah, that's a very valuable.
It's actually a valuable gift.
Well, he didn't intend it to be a gift, empty gift. He needed. What happened was, he was told he could not enter the medical school at Virginia. He just didn't have the background to let him in. And of course, he was furious because his father was quite a wealthy man in Hong Kong. And it was a terrible thing and a disgrace to him. So he left. In fact, he didn't have any choice. They told him to leave, that he was not suited for medical school. And
I'll bring the egg over.
No,
We keep telling us. So I'm going to put it on the video so we can see what we're talking about. Go ahead. So had he left then? He had left.
Yeah, when I got that, he left it in a box for me. And when I opened the box, this is what was in it.
This carved ivory egg with ornate carved spheres inside.
Well, it turned out that the thing is worth probably $1,500. But I didn't know that. And I just was very pleased with it, but I didn't think that much about it. So I went in to check my mail at the little mail station in the university, and the postman said, not postman, but the
postmaster.
Yeah, the person who works in the post office said, "What in the world did you do to this guy?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "He's all upset." He said, "You were supposed to to send his stuff on to the University of West Virginia, and he hadn't got it yet. Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that the gift was a symbolic thing, and he wanted me to, what he was doing was paying me to move his.
Guangxi.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
And
just you didn't get the signal.
I didn't get the signal.
Yeah, cultural difference.
And of course, I never heard from him since.
Yeah.
So I've still got the egg, and a guilty feeling.
That you didn't get it.
I didn't.
Well, he shouldn't have expected you to either.
No,
but
he was Chinese, and
it's different.
But we did some interesting things together. We went to Washington and saw quite a few of the concerts. He liked music, and so that worked great. I got to see some of the famous violinists, and so we did some things together. Didn't do any dating of girls or anything, but.
So he had to move to West Virginia.
Well, before that, though, he'd had a few adventures anyway, because he liked to ride through the park on the way home, because there were ducks in the park, and he loved to look at the ducks. Except that he decided one day, he said, "Park here a minute, just a minute." So he got out. When he came back, he had a duck. He had a United States government duck. And I said, "What the hell are you going to do with that?" He says, "I'm going to have it for breakfast tomorrow." And I said, "You can't do that." He said, "I just did it." And I said, "Well, I got to get the hell out of here real quick." But we had adventures like that. And it was, it was just a good time.
All right, well, let me pause it there.
You made the mistake of asking somebody like